Okay, hello there guys, welcome back to another LibGDX video tutorials. In the previous set of videos I explained a number of changes that I made off screen and showed you what we did by adding our oscillating green enemy, right? So that was in the last you know in the last video, and we added few other things. So this was the last video, right? So now we are going to improve the stage a little bit. So instead of making these four appear right away, we will treat them the same in the same technique uh, for the previous stages, by making a single enemy appear first, then two, then three or four, instead of making a huge wave comes towards the player and making him lose right away. We want the player to get used to an enemy, right? So we know that the player is used to the red one, so now we will make him get used to the green one, and then we'll combine the two together, if that makes sense. So let's start with that. So we will send the first enemy at time 1. We will send the second enemy at the far right of the screen at time 3, okay, and the next one is 3 at time 5, and the next one is 7 at time let's say 7, okay. And then after that we will send 4 enemies right away, or maybe make them 3, okay. So it will be 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. They will be at the middle of the screen, and the timing for them will be at time make them 10. So 10, 10, 10. Okay, hopefully this will make things better. So let me check the path here. So this needs to be 0.1, this needs to be 0.9, this needs to be 0.3, and this needs to be 0.7. There you go. And also this needs to be 0.4, 5, and 6, because we want them to move in a straight line almost, if that makes sense. So let us try this out and see how the enemies behave first, and then we will see how we could make them shoot bullets. Okay, so this is the first one, so the player can get used to this type of enemy. And now, okay, so we can kill him right away. Okay, so the first problem that we have here is that I don't want this enemy to be killed very easily. I want it to have a shield. So now we will enter the part where we add hit points to the enemies. Obviously a boss would need hit points, so since it's a sprite, so we might as well create hit point for that, okay, or health for that. So let me see, where is the 3-headed spaceship? So what do we have? We have angle, speed, angle, use path. I think I created something called max health in the sprite class. Let me see the members. So we have XY, speed XY, angle, absolute speed, use angle, path, enable time, width, height, attack, max angle. What about the player? Let me see. Input management, player spaceship. What do we have here? We have HP. Nice. So here I'm gonna move this from here, and I will go to the sprite and add it here. Okay, so now every sprite has hit points, and I'll assume it's 1. As for the player himself, where is the player player spaceship? I'll just go to the constructor here and say that this dot hit point or HP equals 3. Very simple. Now I will have to do an improvement on the file itself, on the stage file, where I could specify the hit point, or I could set the default value. For now, I will first set the default value for a hit point. Sorry. So for the 3-headed spaceship, I would just say this dot HP or hit point equal 1, so one shot will kill the enemy. As for the green enemy, I will say this dot HP equals 2, so I need to hit the enemy twice to destroy it. Now if we go to our part or game class and see our main loop, so not the title screen, not the credit screen, but rather the game screen where everything is happening here. So where is the part? Remove enemies, no. Remove explosion, no. Remove shots beyond the display, no. Update user input and player, okay. Process user input, that's fine. And check collision between the player and enemy. I have no problem with that. Actually there is a problem here. When my spaceship hits an enemy, I didn't add a sound, right? So I need to add a sound here. So explosion, stage enemy, we add an explosion, but there is no sound, right? So I would say audio. What was that? What did I call the file, the audio file? I don't seem to remember. It has been a while. So explode sound, it's explode, sorry, explode sound dot play. There you go. So you play an explosion sound. We fixed that now, no problem. And also check the collision between the player shots and the enemy. So now we check the collision between the player shots. Now this is important here. So here, if the enemy already is already, what do you call this, is already hit, we made the enemy explode right away. However, we shouldn't do that. Instead, we need to reduce the hit point. Okay, so for this very reason, we would say stage enemies dot get element j dot HP minus equals now the hit point, we subtract what? We subtract the shot, oh sorry, this, yeah, this J dot shots dot get the shot number I dot attack, and each shot has an attack, so this will allow us to, you know, later on when we get stronger weapons, we could destroy stronger enemies easily, if that makes sense. Let me just check that the shot has a value. Where is the shot here? Has an attack. I didn't set the attack here, but rather attack equals 1. So the normal shot is having what? 1 attack. So this reduced this by 1, and here I should play the absorb bullet sound, right? And then if stage enemies dot get element j, right? Dot HP is smaller than or equal to 0. At that very point I will create an explosion and everything, right? So here go, that's fine. Okay, so now what should we do? Stage enemies get hit point 1. Okay, otherwise else okay, what's that? Stage enemies, let me think about this. What did I do here? So we have what? Stage enemies and stage enemy explosions, remove element J, remove shot true. That's fine. So I already have a flag here. Otherwise I'll just add the flag, and the flag will be used later on to remove the shot right away, if that makes sense. And also we just save another break here. So another break, there you go. Yeah, so very straightforward. Obviously we need a sound indicating that you know, a shot has been absorbed. Now let me see the green enemy. So the hit point is 2. Now let's see if we could kill the green enemy with 1 shot or 2 shots. Okay, so we start here. Okay, that's what's kind of hard. Okay, so one's coming here. Okay, so you saw that. Now come on. Okay, it absorbed 1 bullet. So let me repeat that. Okay, you saw that. Now this enemy could handle 2 bullets now. 2 normal bullets. Later on we will have weapons, so it will be way more different. Okay, and also when we touch an enemy we get okay, you saw that. Now let's see. Okay, so now what we need to do is something that is very simple. I want to create a sound for kind of you know, metal, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if we could add that, but let me use Audacity quickly here to create this sound. So we need to add this sound effect so that the player gets feedback that there is something happening. Okay, so let me see. What do we have here? No, sorry. No, these are bad actually. Effect, let me see. No. No. I don't seem to remember what did I use, but let me see. Maybe this will do. Okay, let's say that this is gonna be the sound for absorbing a bullet. Right? Well, yeah, I suppose I will choose this one. Okay, of course the sound here is horrible. Maybe I'll change this later on, but I just want to make something that's very quick. So now what we need to do is just say export let's go to the desktop, and here instead of wave file I will use OGG, and I will call him absorb shot. Okay, so absorb shot. We save that file and give it an OK. That's it. So now we got the audio file. I'm gonna copy this file and go to the Android Studio, go to the Android project, go to assets where everything is there, and I'm gonna right click and paste things in there, and I paste the file. This is the name, give it an OK. Sorry, and the file has been pasted successfully, and now we need to define this audio file, right? So let's go to the game. Okay, we define another sound, so we have sound absorb shot. Okay, so let's go to the sound part. Go here, wait a second, I think I made something wrong with the naming. Yeah, there need to be a word sound at the end, right? So here I will just say absorb shot sound equals gdx.audio.new sound, and I will use gdx.files.internal, and the name is absorb shot.ogg semicolon. And again, when we are you know, when an enemy get hit, where is that? Here I will just say here absorb shots on dot play and 1.0f. Okay, so very straightforward thing to do, and yeah, so now let's run the game and see and see what happens. Okay, come on. Okay, this is a little bit hard to. Did you hear that? That's fine. Okay, so you saw that the first shot gave us a sound, and the second one caused the enemy to be destroyed. Now this is all great, and now this is fine, but now what we are going to do is improve things a little bit. So what we want to do is create a combination between the red and the green enemy before going to the next one. The next one is a modification on the green enemy, very simple one, you'll see that, but for now we want to make a modification, sorry, a combination between the two. So let's go to stage 3. So we define these guys, and now what we need to do, we will combine the first enemy with the second. So here the time is going to be 13, 13, 13, 13. Now these locations will be fine, but this is going to be 1 0 1 0. Okay, and if that makes sense. As for the speed, the red one is usually 240 if I am not mistaken, what was the speed? Yeah, it's 240, so it's much slower than the green one. So let's go and run the game, and now we should see a slow and fast enemies. Okay, so this is the first one. Now coming the second one, the third, as you can see, and the fourth. That's fine. And now there you go. And wait a second, and you should get these two guys and these two guys. You know what, this is not very satisfying, because let me go back to stage 3. Okay, so I'll make 2 copies of these. So I will spread the enemies, right? And let me see, also add one at, so we have 1, 3, 5, 7, yeah, that's fine. And this is gonna be what? This is gonna be 5, so this is 5. Okay, now in the interest of making things a little bit more organized. Okay, so now the locations, one is at location 0.1, then 0.3, 0.5, 0.7 and 0.9. So we are spreading them 5 spaceships on the width of the screen. And also at the same time exactly, I will just use the 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and now instead of using timing of 13, I will use timing of 11, so that they will catch up with each other. Okay, and also the speed's gonna be 240 because it's slower. Yeah, so we'll have kind of a surprise to the player because we will have combination of the two. Okay, so let's run this. So the first one, no problem. The second one, no problem. The third one, no problem. Fourth one, and now the one in the center. There you go. And now check this out. Okay, it seems to be alright. So yeah, maybe make them 12 so that they appear a little bit later on, and we could make them move a little bit to the left or the right so that they're not exactly on the same line. So I'll just add 5 here, if that makes sense. So now there is a difference, so they are not all on the same path. Okay, so this is by and large level design rather than programming. It has a little bit of programming here because I'm adding few things whenever I need, but by and large this is all level design, and so far there is not many difficult things here. Anyway, so you can see, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Actually we could make this even number and the one there odd numbers, 6, 8. Remove this one. This is gonna be what? This is gonna be 2, 4, 6, and 8. This needs to be an 8. Okay, there you go. And that should be it. Yeah, so very straightforward, I suppose. Now this finishes stage 3. So before we stop finally, let's add a very simple modification, and see how we can redirect our enemy um, towards our spaceship, if that makes sense. Okay, so we are gonna save that, and what I am going to do, I will go to the part where we parse our stage. So where is the path? Let me see. Sorry, it's here, right? So explosion, enemy input, motion plan. The motion plan is used to parse things. So here we have, we created from the last video, if you remember, I added something that will, something for parsing the points. Okay, so if the value is R and D, then we generate a random number. Now else if xy of 0 dot trim dot equals, now we're gonna check the value. This is gonna be px, meaning the player x position. Okay, so we will do something tricky here, sorry, in order to make sure that the enemy spaceship will go towards the player's spaceship, okay, in terms of x-axis. Okay, as for the y, we don't need that. We could do that later on, but for now we will just use px for player x. Now in order for us to know where the player is, we will have to well, this is gonna cause a problem, right? This is gonna cause a problem because basically all the points are calculated when the stage loads right away. So what that means is that this path will be set when the stage gets loaded. So if the timer is, let's say, the enemy should appear after 30 seconds, so the player is not at the same x-axis when the enemy appears. Okay, so this is going to cause a problem later on. Probably I might need to modify the motion plan for the enemy spaceship and get it to be delayed until later. Okay, so I might do that. I might as well do that. Okay, so far I won't do anything here. I will just modify this a little bit. Okay, so let's go to the sprite here, and I'm going to add where is that? Let me see. Absolute, use angle, motion path, use motion path, enable time. Okay, so now I will add a member, public string. This is gonna be motion path string, and this is an empty string. So if you are using a motion path, the sprite is gonna initialize that. Public boolean is motion path parsed as boolean. This is gonna be false. Okay, so this is very straightforward thing to do. Now all I have to do is say in the update part, where's the update part? Okay, so if using motion plan or motion plan, yeah, so if not motion path parsed. So if this is not parsed, then I would say this dot sorry is motion pass equal true. First I will set the flag to true, and then this dot path, right? What was it? Under no enable time, update. No, what was the name of the method? Oh, so this dot path equals what? Motion plan dot parse. Okay, new motion plan, and then this dot path dot parse points, and I pass this dot what? Motion path string. There you go. So now here so here the enemy will parse the points only when he gets enabled. Okay, so if you are referencing the player somehow, your reference will be very accurate. Okay, this should be fine. So let's just update the load stage, or the stage load, or whatever you want to call it. Let me see. Okay, before I do that, I'll just say if this dot motion path string equals null, sorry, equals, so if not, so if there is path string somehow, so that we avoid any problem if we set the value and forgot to set the motion path string. Anyway, so where is the part where we load, where stage management? There you go. So here I will say motion path string equals path. That's it. And now this should work exactly as before. So we'll have to test it first before we start adding the feature where we make the enemy attacks the player, if that makes sense. So let's go to this one and just go to the part we said the stage equals 2. I think we did something. Yeah, it's here. So now stage equals 0. I want to see the whole set of stages. It should all work well. Okay, so we start the game. Okay, so this one is working, so it's already working, no problem there. Okay, that's fine. So the first wave, that is fine, no problem there. Okay, so now now all of those guys are going towards the center of the screen, and the next group of guys are going towards the left. Okay, and the next group goes toward the right. Okay, that's fine. This is very fine. And the next group will get, yeah. So the parsing is working, the delayed parsing of paths is working well. And now we are going to address the problem, or the thing that we wanted to do earlier, where we said that we want to do some special treatment, right, for a value. Where is that? Motion plan. Okay, so here we want to parse this one. So if we have px, we need to access the x position of the player. So we will say the following: player spaceship. Actually we need to go to g01 game dot player, right? Let me make sure. What did I call it? It's player, but I forgot to say public, so I need to make this public. Should I make it static? I wonder, because you always want... Yeah, make it static. There you go. So I will go here, dot player dot x, right? So now I need to divide the value of x by the virtual width. So g01 game dot virtual width, and this will be the value of f1 semicolon. Okay, so if I set the destination to or the x-axis to be px, it will be directly towards the player. Okay, so now I'm gonna change a few things at the third stage. So let me go here, and where is the part where we say stage equals 0? We will make this okay, and now we'll make this 2. So it starts from stage 3, and also we go to stage 3. This is stage 3, and now for the paths we will make, you know, I'll just make a copy of these. So what's the timer here? Well, I'll make a copy of the file itself, so let me copy this, all of this, and say notepad. There you go. Just make a copy somewhere safe. Okay, so I remove all of these guys. Okay, as for this, I will just say I want to go towards px. So remember R&D for random. Now px represents the player x position. So if all goes well, we will have enemies running towards the player right away. So let's run. We start. So the first enemy is going towards me. It doesn't touch me. The second one. The third one. Now this is a close one. The fourth, as you can see. So now we have enemies that goes towards the player right away. Now the problem that these players are not going exactly towards our spaceship is because in terms of x-axis they are going accurately, but in terms of y they are going far down the screen, and because of that their path diverges from the player a little bit. So we are gonna reduce this one or make it something like that. Now they will be much more accurate. So if we run this now, okay, this is just a demonstration. So you can see now this is way too accurate, right? Actually we could make them better than that. Yeah, so we could make them better than that by just adding or saying you know, So now they will be more accurate. So there you go. Let's see. Okay. So the oscillation saved the player somehow. Okay. And we lost the ship. So now, as you can see, we can actually create an enemy that targets the player wherever he goes. Okay. And by the way, I didn't change the location of the player, but check this out. So now I'm going to change this here. Check this. So the first one didn't have its location set. Wow, this is bad because I thought it should be set later on. Wait a second, maybe I need to change this a little bit, if that makes sense. Maybe. So let us see. Let me go to sprite here. Our sprite now. Where's the update? Let me just check the update part. Use motion plan. Okay. So if it is not parsed, I'm gonna parse it. I'll get this one and so on. Now let me check the stage itself, stage 3. So what is the time? Yeah, I will make the time here to be times 7. Okay, and also let me go to the game. So let me see, what did I do? I think I forgot something somewhere. So not the title screen, no, the game screen here. Check if state need to be loaded. Update the time variables. Okay, check if the sprite needs to be enabled. So if get enabled. Okay. So maybe I need to check the enable the flag as well. So let's go to the sprite here and I would say and enabled. Okay, so only when the sprite is enabled this check is going to happen, if that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so here I would say very quickly if not enabled, just return, don't do anything. So I don't need this one here. I'm just saying that if the sprite is not enabled yet, don't do anything, just, you know, stay there and don't update anything. Okay, wait a second, come on here. Obviously I wrote something, so the player need to be enabled right away. So where is the player spaceship? And here all I have to do, I would say this dot enabled equals true. The player is always enabled. Okay, only the enemy need to be disabled first and then enabled later on. So we'll start here. Oh, I set all the enemies to appear at time 7. Sorry. Okay, so now let's run this again. Go. So the first enemy should attack me. Good. Second enemy. Okay, so going towards me. The third. That is bad. The fourth. They are still going towards the same point exactly. So let me put a breakpoint and see what are they doing here. Update. Okay, so let's go. Where is that? The shot? No. Sprite. Where's the sprite? Okay, there you go. So if use motion plan, yeah. I'll put a breakpoint here, and now I'll debug the application. So this should never happen unless, you know, time goes by. One. Okay, so now we hit the first one. That's awesome. So okay, so this one's sparse now. This one's not. Wait a second, what was that? This is an empty string. Interesting. Okay, now the second one, go here. Wow. The next one. Okay, 9. Seems to be a problem somewhere. There seems to be a problem. Let me check this quickly. Stage management. So yeah, here I'm setting the path. I'm not parsing anything. And let me go and say, okay, where's the part motion plan? So here I'll use this one. So let's stop this one and run this again. Let me see. So I will start this right away, and it calls this method right away, which is very weird. Anyway, no problem. Okay, no problem. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So you see here, I should have used one part of the code to insert things, but it seems that I failed here because, you know, I just had to do this and the problem would have been solved. Okay, so now it's gonna work fine, I suppose. Let's see. So the first one, now the second one going towards me, third one, fourth one, good, and the fifth one. Oh, I don't have fifth one, but anyway, now it's working perfectly fine without any problem. Yeah, so we could create another enemy right now, but maybe I'll delay this for the next video. So now we saw how we could parse, you know, the path later on, because we need to identify the location of the player and set our plan when the enemy appears. This is very important, and yeah, it's all working fine. So that will be all for today. I hope you'll find this video useful. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye bye.